The sequel trilogy is finally being phased out by Lucasfilm and Disney, but not perhaps in the way that you had anticipated. Today, we'll tell you what they're up to, what's on the way, and why it really does matter when it comes to everything pertaining to our shared culture. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we, as ever, endeavor to explain entertainment and go beyond the shallow pools of philosophical water where others dare to wade. Today, as we get ready to engage you with another video of excellence, consider clicking the like button. We begin with Gizmodo, and it is by Sabina Graves. Galaxy's Edge is breaking its Star Wars timeline even more with Luke Skywalker's arrival. Now, I am here to tell you that it is not a breaking of a timeline, but rather they are going to get rid of the entire setting of their Disney theme park expansions, that being Galaxy's Edge and Disneyland and Walt Disney World. That is what I am hearing, and we'll explain fully what we're talking about. Don't go anywhere. Like button, please. The Jedi Master will soon make his West Coast debut, further shattering the setting for the Star Wars theme park universe. That's what they say. But oh my, may I suggest they don't know what's really going on, and you are about to. It says, after Grogu and the Mandalorian's presence further broke what had once been a set timeline at Galaxy's Edge. Pause. Yes, folks, we're half a sentence in and we're already pausing. 2 points here that I need to make on this very first half of the sentence that really are important. First of all, Galaxy's Edge is based on The Last Jedi. That's right. The expansion, multi-billion-dollar expansions at Walt Disney World and Disneyland are based on, by far and away, the least liked Star Wars movie of all time, largely considered to have cratered the entire franchise, The Last Jedi. And that's all because Rian Johnson, Kiri Hart, and Kathleen Kennedy had a grand plan for what they wanted to do when you spent time in the happiest and most magical places on Earth. Turns out you don't like it, and they know it. Grogu and the Mandalorian, though, pay attention to that. Folks, it really matters. They're bringing Grogu and the Mandalorian into Rise of the Resistance. No, Smuggler's Run. And why are they bringing it into the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride? Well, because everything is getting ready to change. The sequel trilogy doesn't work. It's commercially unviable for the theme parks. That's why the hotel's sitting there empty right now, minus Imagineers who have been forced to work in there as an office space. It says all bets are off as to who might be showing up at the Disneyland Resort Star Wars destination next. This morning, Disney Parks on Instagram shared a cryptic video of Luke Skywalker and R2-D2 the D2 arriving next to the Millennium Falcon, and we got chills at seeing the legendary Lucasfilm hero roll up to the hunk of junk along with his droid. Now, this is the difference also. Remember that Gizmodo is probably part of the legacy media, and, well, they're not in the past inclined to be all excited about Luke, and yet here they are. They're getting chills, folks. They're getting chills because Luke Skywalker is back. It's what you've been asking for. It's what they said. Darn you, you'll never get it. He's old, he's antiquated, he's pale, he's stale. Rey is the future. Now they're getting chills. Why are they getting chills? Because they want to be part of the cool kids club, and because Disney said it's time to make Luke popular again. Oh, wait, he always was. From March 28th to May 11th, during Season of the Force at Disneyland, the hero will make his debut in the theme park. He'll be the first of the original trilogy trio to show up, and it will definitely be a younger Luke, not old man Force Ghost Luke, which is the Galaxy's Edge, what they would have had to gone with. Because, again, it's based on The Last Jedi. But pause, folks, yet again, for we have more to say about this. Luke, as you see him here, is not, in fact, young farm boy Luke. This is Luke in the era of The Mandalorian. Is everybody listening? Star Wars fans, if there are any of you still remaining out there, are you listening? That is Luke from The Mandalorian. It's not Luke from any other time. This is likely the same, the one and only Luke, who will be in the Mandalorian movie coming out next year. So, what does all of this mean? Well, it means that Disney is getting ready to promote a Mandalorian movie, which is probably going to heavily focus on Luke because they have run out of the ability to run him out of the galaxy. It turns out that you all love Luke. You love Luke, you love Han, you love Leia, you love Yoda. And it doesn't matter how much propaganda they try to throw at this. It doesn't matter what they try to do with Rey and the rest of the characters who are completely unflawed with no character development whatsoever. You want Luke as ever. And they're going to have to deliver to you now because they have reached the consumer end. The transactions are beginning to go away. And I'll give you this as an example. At MegaCon, right? At MegaCon over the weekend, do you know how few costumes for Star Wars I saw? Nothing. Very few in terms of Star Wars costumes. You could find more people cosplaying Kane. There were more girls dressed as Jinx. You could have counted in the hundreds of cosplaying Jinxes, and not a single Rey to be found. Disney Parks has just announced a new Shadows of Memory, a Skywalker Saga nighttime experience, will debut March 28th in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, plus rumored sightings of Luke Skywalker and Batuu as part of limited time Season of the Force event. And you can see they're going to remember back, right? That's because those are things of the past. But no, they're the things of the future, let me tell you. And why? Why are they things of the future? Why are you seeing the original trilogy everywhere at Disneyland, but for a limited time only? Because they're testing this out. They're gauging the interest levels. Because they're not going to let the hotel sit empty forever. They're not going to let the franchise completely fail. Because Wall Street is now forcing them to change. Now, when we say that Wall Street is forcing them to change, I want to express to you exactly what I mean by that. And to do that, we need to step into the psychological for just a moment. And this is really going to open the door for you to understand what it is that made the sequel trilogy fail in the way that it did, in a spectacular fashion. To understand that, let me explain that the original trilogy, the reason that it is so successful, goes far beyond spaceships and lightsabers. The heart of the story is that innocence, that's Luke, goes out to do what he wishes to do, which is be the hero and slay the dragons of the world. And what he finds out is that the ultimate dragon is his own father. Now, that's a story that plays out, and you find out, along with Luke, that dragon actually exists within him as well. And he must subdue the dragon within in order to conquer the dragon outside. And in order to conquer the dragon outside, he must find the way to redeem his father, for vengeance is not sufficient. Boy, that's a big story, right? And the reason that we listen to stories, the reason that we care about these things is because a good story, and that's the one that you want to listen to repeatedly, a good story takes you on an adventure in which you can learn the things of life through other characters. You vicariously live the experiences and the lessons without having to put yourself in that same kind of danger. You don't have to face a real malignant, malicious force right there in front of you. Malice can be kept at bay through the storyteller. And whether you believe that is divinely inspired as to how humans are designed, or whether you believe that we have evolved to develop this means by which to experience that which has not yet been experienced, it is the way in which we pass down wisdom. And it is why, folks, we do this channel. If you were to say to me, well, Pro, why? Like, what is it that drives you 4 times a day to put out a video? What are you so passionate about? And what is it that's driving people to flock to this channel? The answer to that is entertainment truly does matter, because it is that by which we instill values into every generation. It really matters. When you watch Luke face off against his father, and the way in which he defeats his father is to not defeat him, but rather to redeem him, there is a lesson there, an embedded lesson that places virtue straight into the culture. It is an antiseptic to terrible ideas, and that's why we hold on to it so fiercely. Did you know, by the way, that PTSD, for example, the same neurological structures, according to psychologists, the same neurological structures which help you identify and flee immediately, instinctually, a snake, that is the same set of receptors that fire inside your brain when you have a post-traumatic stress experience. And when you face true malice, when you face true malevolence aimed in your direction, and you don't know how to properly construct that kind of darkness and evil in your life, that's how you come away with a post-traumatic stress sort of experience. And what we do with storytelling is we attempt to navigate you into those waters so that you can deal with the very terrifying realities that evil does exist, and that good is not easy, and that great is a miraculous thing that we choose to do. And yes, if there is no free will, then there is no point in storytelling whatsoever. Maybe we'll have a huge debate with someone on that point at some point in the future. I would love to. This is the reason the sequel trilogy failed. The reason the sequel trilogy is a failure, the reason that Rey is not a popular character, has very little to do with Daisy Ridley. It has very little to do with the people who crafted it understanding what they were doing. It has everything to do with them being caught up in the idea that they had to create a female character who had to be flawless. And that idea makes the entire sequel trilogy worthless to watch. We could go through the 100 other sins of the sequel trilogy, but ultimately, the worst of all is that because Rey has no journey to get better, you have no journey to share with her. Because the point of storytelling is for you to experience the overcoming of challenges so that you can do the same. Rey faces no challenge, for Rey is not ever challenged, for Rey has no weakness. There is nothing for her to overcome except to be proven to be as awesome as she must have always been. She simply had to recognize that she is a demigod. Well, that is not helpful to you. And because of that, the sequel trilogy was ultimately, completely, and utterly rejected because it serves no purpose as a narrative vehicle. It provides no value to your life. There is no lesson to be gleaned. And that deeply human philosophical quandary and conundrum for Star Wars, Lucasfilm, and Disney resulted in a massive economic failure. One that finally they now may be ready to pull back somehow. But not in the way you anticipated, for if you came here thinking that they're going to phase out completely the sequel trilogy and strip it from canon, not yet. And probably not ever, but definitely not yet. Instead, they're going to dip their toes in the waters. They're going to dip their toe in the water with Luke appearing in Galaxy's Edge, along with the original trilogy characters, and they're going to gauge, did this dramatically increase the interest in Star Wars in Disneyland? And if it did, then you could see this rolled out at Walt Disney World. And they'll definitely bring Luke back for the Mandalorian movie, for meet and greets and all of that. And that's the beginning of the slow change into recognizing that this was always a story about a farm boy. It was always a story about you. You are Luke. And it doesn't matter if you're male or female. You, if you were ever innocent at any point in your life, and we wish that every person listening could say so, but unfortunately, folks, that's not true. And many of you out there are very lucky to have had a time of innocence. God bless those who came into this world and right off the bat were introduced into trauma. We feel for you. Our hearts are broken for you. But for those of you who had the experience of having some degree of innocence in your childhood, you're Luke. And Luke went on a journey, and you experienced what you needed to through Luke, and it was meaningful and poignant to the point that franchise exploded. Now, there are plenty of other ingredients that make the original trilogy great and which make the sequel trilogy terrible, but at the heart of it, it's the foundation. And that's why as we look at thatparkplace.com, it says Disney's billion-dollar Star Wars hotel to become costly office space as company buries failed Galactic Star Cruiser project. It's by Marvin Montanaro. As we look at that title, just remember, this whole Galactic Star Cruiser thing, millions of dollars, millions and millions and millions of dollars, sunk in this. All they had to do was put Luke in it. All they had to do was put the original trilogy characters in it. The fact that it's sitting empty, minus Imagineers forced to work there as office space, tells you everything you need to know about how popular the sequel trilogy is. They know it. You know it. They know you know it. And that means things have to change. They'll do it slowly, with trepidation, because they never wanted to do this. They never wanted to admit that you want Luke, that George had the story right. They never wanted to admit that Luke, Leia, Han, Lando, R2, C-3PO, Yoda, etc., and don't forget Anakin, that they really do matter because they're archetypal storytelling devices, and that the vice of what Disney did was to strip away the archetypes and give us ideologues. They don't want you to know that. They don't want to admit it, but they have no other choice than to slowly fade out the sequel trilogy. Will they keep it in canon? Probably. But you are unlikely in 10 years to hear very much at all. And perhaps we could even go so far as to call it the Forgotten Trilogy at some point. That's the future of Star Wars. And the redemption will be slow, arduous, and unfortunately for all of us who actually care, Disney is going to be highly reticent to come out and say, yep, we blew it, our bad. But you know what? That's the way they could accelerate the forgiveness from fans. Folks, that's the story. Luke coming back doesn't break the timeline. Luke coming to Galaxy's Edge is the future of Galaxy's Edge. The articles, the Access Media, the Pixie Dusters, the Cupcakers, the Raylos, they just don't know it yet. But now, they do. Folks, click the like button, share, subscribe, drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts on all of this, and also click that notification bell. We love it when you click it. It's real swell. All right, folks, until the next time we have the joy of spending time with you, may the Force be with you. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Wilton, what are you doing?
Well, word on the street is the culture war has officially made it to the doorstep of that park place. And I realized Jonas has no one there who loves him. So I thought I should go and protect them.
Yeah, okay. You know that's not, how you do this, right?
Do what? Fight? Don't worry, Floral. I will not be intimidated by a criminal threat.
Threat? Wilton, don't be ridiculous.
What does it matter to me? I have only one life to lose.
I mean, I totally expected you to die walking into traffic, but,
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Okay, just stop. This is just nonsense. You already have one of the easiest and most effective tools and weapons at your fingertips.
My axe?
No. The truth. Stay smart and ready to tell and share the truth by keeping up to date with WDW Pro, that park place, as well as Valiant Renegade.
And Jonas? I mean, he does things with Vash, and that's not very reassuring. That's like putting two helpless chipmunks into a piranha pond.
That's neither true nor accurate. Unlike the team from that park place.
Sue me.
Ugh.